Real talk is the first theme that we're going to step into. We're starting off all together with a fireside chat. It is my distinct pleasure to give to you Gail and Kim.
You know, my journey to the C-suite at Nationwide is like the journey for all of you. It really started with a desire, because nothing happens without a desire. There was a huge desire for me to make my grandmother proud. Kim did not ask this, but everything in my life has been motivated by one woman, and that was my grandmother, who chose to raise me and my brother and did that as a maid. And one of the things I committed to do from a very young age, as I watched her every day go out and work, was I was going to make her proud. And then the other big thing that led to my success, that will lead to all of your success, is really the power of relationships. I think you all know, no matter what we say, no matter how good we are, that relationships trump, and I'm not using that as a pun, but relationships trump everything. So those things really led to my success.
This session is around leading from the front, but I also think, and we'll talk about it, it's not just leading from the front, it's leading from the side, the bottom, and showing up wherever you are in the organization as a leader.
Yeah, and I cannot overemphasize that, you know, in order to be successful, you've got to want it. Because every day is not going to be wonderful. You're going to be disappointed. People are going to disappoint you. So you've got to want it. Earlier, you have to have the personal attributes of EQ. EQ is about being able to read the social dynamics in an organization and the political dynamics in an organization. They exist. You cannot escape them. So you have to have personal attributes. You have to have a talent and a skill. Work is an expectation, so you've got to have something that you bring that is uniquely you, that people can attribute to you. And as I said before, you have to have strong relationships. And those relationships are relationships down, across, and up. Because the one thing for sure is that people are always watching you, and they're making assumptions about you, and you never know who you're interacting with, who happens to be friends with the CEO's daughter or friends with your boss's boss. So
where would you say you see a lot of more common missteps that people maybe make by way of assumption in leadership?
I think a few things happen with missteps. I think people don't look up. I think a lot of young people coming into organizations are working really hard to do the job, which I think is important. But when you come in, you have to learn the job. But while you're learning the job, you need to look up and around. You need to understand the dynamics. You need to understand who the power players are. You need to understand what's going on. So you need to do your job well, but you need to be looking up. I think you need to be careful about what you say. I mean, you know, a lot of young people just want to, and not just young people, me too. You know, we come into organizations and we talk too much. You know, sometimes we've got to listen and make sure you understand what's going on. Because remember, everybody talks, you know, so make sure that you are not the person that they're using to tell a story that they want to tell. So what gets in your way, you know, really is not paying attention to what's going on around you, the politics of the environment, getting in the middle of stuff that really doesn't matter, not listening, not receiving feedback. The information is power. And that if I allow you to tell me the truth about me and I act like I care, then you'll work with me. But if you act like, well, you're wrong, then you're just going to create this conflict that you can't get past. So you have to get comfortable enough in who you are that you use that feedback to want to address how other people view you.
And you talked about politics and being aware of them.
Yes.
But then you also couple it with, but you don't want to play in them.
Yes.
Can you kind of break that down? Because I actually think that that's been an ongoing lesson.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is you need to be aware of the politics. And the politics is really about what someone else wants versus what you want. That's all it is. thing is when you play the politics and people then begin to see you as non-trustworthy. Because when you play politics, that means that I'm going to side with you when I'm in the room with you, but then I'm going to side with you when I'm in the room with you, and I stand for nothing. So that's what I mean about not playing them. Like I knew who hated each other, who liked each other. I knew the sacred cows. I knew the agendas. I knew all of that. You need to know that so that you don't get caught up in it. You know, and that's what I say about looking up and around.
You mentioned this word, authentic. And I know that you talk about authenticity and how it needs to show up in leadership. And you have a way in which you talk about it. So could you share with the group what you think around authenticity and leadership?
Understand that authenticity is not binary. It's not that every day, you know, I have to come in and I have to be just who Gail is. There is an intersectionality of authenticity that says that I recognize where other people come in. I recognize the environment. I recognize how other people show up. And that is when you get the best out of your authenticity, is that you understand the role that other people play. You understand the environment that you're in. But that you never, ever, 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 ever forgo your character in it. You know, so I can be authentically me, I can express my concerns, but I can still do it in a way that respects you. We're so blessed that we have this one life, and we get to decide what we're going to do with it. And I would really encourage you to figure out how to make your life mean more than what you do for yourself. Mm-hmm. Intentionality requires a few things. One, that you have a vision of where you want to be, but it also requires that you have a plan for where you want to go, and that you put in place steps in order and do the things to get you there. If you take nothing away, relationships matter. People open doors for you. And if you have a brand of delivering results, if you have a brand of being cooperative, what I'm saying is that we all have difficult people, but you still have to have people that can be constructive in their being difficult. There's nothing wrong with saying I disagree with you, but you've got to be about being constructive.
From a stretch goal and thinking about parting lessons in leadership and even the use over these next 2 days, what is the greatest bit of counsel that you could give the folks in the room and outside of the room?
I want you to get in the way. I want you to use, one of the things I want you to think about in life is I want you to get in the way of whatever it is that you want from life, or whatever it is you want to change in life. And so that would be my parting, is to get in the way. What will it take? And be intentional about it. How do you get in the way? I would encourage you to figure out in your communities who's paying attention to things that you're interested in, and get involved with that so that you can get in the way. In your companies, get in the way. Ask questions of your leaders. How can you be involved? Hold them to a higher standard. So get in the way and expect greatness from everybody. If you expect good things from people, they'll surprise you.
Let's give it up for Gail V. King.